Let's talk about easy, low-effort things you can do to lower your blood sugars. Some days we just don't want diabetes. At least I know that's the case for me. So the other day while hanging around at home, I was thinking, hey, maybe I can come up with easy, low-effort ways of lowering my blood sugars. Living with diabetes is a 24/7 job as we're constantly in charge of managing our blood sugars. It's a lot of work, but I'll let you in on a secret. And that is that yes, indeed, there are actually ways that we can quickly lower our blood sugars with very little effort. So let's talk about it. Hang tight while I walk you through 5 ways that you can quickly lower your blood sugars with relatively little effort. I'm Christelle from Diabetes Strong, and I've been living with type 1 diabetes since 1997, so I completely understand how time-consuming and sometimes frustrating it can be to be in charge of your blood sugar management day in and day out. But there are loopholes. There are things that you and I can do to help lower our blood sugars without a huge amount of effort. Because honestly, we need to stop being so hard on ourselves. We need to cut ourselves some slack, and we need to cut some corners whenever it makes sense. Let's go. And the first thing in my list of 5 is to drink more water. Hydration plays a huge role when it comes to our blood sugar management. And the thing is, even mild dehydration can leave your blood sugars 50 to 100 milligrams higher than if you were drinking enough water. Simplified a bit, when you don't drink enough water, the glucose in your bloodstream becomes more concentrated, and that can lead to higher blood sugars. Water helps flush out excess sugar from the bloodstream, and it helps the body function at an optimal level. So how much should you drink? Well, that's a really good question. I think the best recommendation I've seen is that you should always have water with you and drink whenever thirsty. You don't have to force yourself to drink water to reach a specific goal, but it's recommended that you sip on water throughout the day. And even if you don't feel thirsty, a few sips every hour throughout the day is generally recommended. That doesn't sound that bad, does it? Sounds fairly easy. If you have any tips on how to stay hydrated, please let us all know. You can leave a comment down below this video. This is a lazy guide to lowering blood sugars, and this next tip is right on point. Because the next tip is to relax. Or said differently, to manage your stress levels. Everybody experiences stress at some point in their life. But the thing is with stress that it can have a notable impact on blood sugars, both immediately as well as in the long run. Stress is your body's reaction to any change, event, or adjustment in your life that requires a reaction and an adjustment. And stress is an unavoidable part of life. Both positive as well as negative experiences can have a stressful impact on your body, both mentally and physically. Whenever we talk about stress, you might have heard the hormone cortisol mentioned. So cortisol is often discussed in a negative light, but we actually need cortisol in order to stay alive and function. However, elevated levels of cortisol can raise your blood sugars and make them harder to control as it impacts your insulin sensitivity. Your insulin sensitivity is how effective your body is at utilizing the insulin that you either produce or that you inject. But there are things we can do. So I don't think the advice, just don't stress, is good advice. However, there are some relaxation techniques such as meditation and deep breathing that we can use to keep stress at bay. I like to use alternate nostril breathing. Yes, that sounds funky, but it's actually a very effective breathing technique. For alternate nostril breathing, all you need to use is, well, your hand. So you want to place your thumb, let's say your right thumb, on your right nostril, and then you want to inhale through the left. And then you want to take your right ring finger, put that on your left nostril, let go with the thumb, exhale. Thumb is back, let go with the ring finger. And just go back and forth for a minute or two, really deep breathing. It's super effective, and you can do it on the couch. Another relaxing and very easy way of lowering blood sugars is to get enough sleep. A lack of sleep can make you insulin resistant. Again, insulin resistant means that your body isn't as good at utilizing the insulin that you either produce or that you inject, and that can lead to elevated blood sugars. Lack of sleep really hits me hard. I know that if I have a night of poor sleep quality or just too little sleep, I have to fight the day after to keep my blood sugars in range. Most people should aim for 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep a night. But just closing your eyes and hoping for the best isn't always enough. But there are things that you can do and things you can avoid to help increase your chance of a good night's sleep. 8 things to do or to avoid for a better night's sleep. Measure your blood sugar every night before bed to help prevent being woken up by high or low blood sugar. Make your bedroom dark. Use shades or curtains. Don't bring your phone to bed. Don't stare at the phone or your computer screen during the last hours before bed. Use a fan-based noise machine for natural white noise. You can create your own restful ritual. Maybe 5 minutes of yoga, relaxing music, or hot shower. Avoid high sugar meals right before bed. Identify known habits that interfere with your sleep. Now let's move on to the next tip. And since this is a lazy guide for lowering blood sugars, I'm not going to tell you to go for a walk. But there are movements, or let's just call them exercises, that you can do while seated that are very effective in lowering blood sugars. I'll link to a whole video of seated exercises at the end of this video. But first, let's just talk about why seated exercises can be so effective at lowering blood sugars. I think it's a fairly common misconception that only hardcore or prolonged exercise in a gym will have a positive effect on blood sugars. In reality, everything counts, even seated exercises, and it sure beats doing nothing. Let's take something as simple as a seated march. When we sit and we move our legs, we're activating those big leg muscles, and that will fire up your insulin sensitivity, which can help with blood sugar management, not just here and now, but also in the long run. And it's okay to watch TV while doing these exercises. And the fifth and last easy way to lower your blood sugars that I want to include in this video is to remember to take your blood sugar lowering meds. If your doctor has prescribed you any sort of blood sugar lowering medication, it's because your doctor has concluded that you need it. But remembering to take your meds can be a little challenging sometimes. I think it comes down to establishing habits around taking your diabetes meds. So let's, for example, say that it's a morning tablet that you need to take. Well, maybe you do a calendar reminder on your phone or set an alarm, or something more low-tech as putting a sticky note on the bathroom mirror or maybe even on your coffee cup. And if you find it challenging to remember whether or not you already took your meds, there's some different tools. There are some pill organizers, or you can simply keep a paper log. I was talking to someone the other day who had a hard time remembering taking his insulin before his breakfast. He eats most of his meals out, so he'd get in his car, drive somewhere, have meetings, eat breakfast. So he came up with this idea of simply putting a sticky note on his steering wheel. That means that every morning when he would come, get in his car, he'd be reminded, hey, you have to remember to dose your insulin before your meal. And the intention is here not to have a sticky note for the rest of his life on the steering wheel, but to develop a habit around every morning being mindful of, hey, I have to remember to take my insulin before this meal. That's just one idea. You might have a brilliant idea of how to remember taking your meds. If you do, I'd love for you to share. Please leave a comment down below this video. Remember, these tips are meant to supplement whatever you and your medical team has decided is the right approach for you to manage your diabetes. And just to recap, those 5 tips, they're hydrate, get enough water, manage your stress, get enough sleep, do seated exercises, and take your diabetes medication as your doctor has prescribed. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Remember to hit that notification bell, that way you'll be informed whenever I post new content. This is a video I promised you with all the seated exercises, and also check out this playlist for a lot more tips on how to lower your blood sugars. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.